So you want to shade like this. Well, the good news is, it's easy, but the bad news is you're gonna have to practice it till you get it right. Just because you watch the tutorial doesn't mean you'll get it right first try. Before I tell you how to shade like this, there's something to keep note of. Pretend this glowy dot is a light source, and this ball is where the shadow is going to hit. So if you stick a tube close to the glowy dot, the shadow will be soft. If the tube is close to the wall where the shadow is going to hit, then the shadow will be hard. And another thing, I got this technique from Nadiaxels, so if you're willing to listen to someone who draws like this, then you should go listen to someone who draws like that. So let's start. First I use an airbrush to add all the soft shadows. The lighting is coming from over here, by the way. It's important to keep the brush big. If you make it small, the brush will get hard, which is how I add the hard shadows. I make the airbrush smaller, then add them in. I only use one single brush for the entire process, but you can use a hard brush for the hard shadows if you want. When you're shading, you should shift the hue of your shadows. It adds variation. That's what I'm doing with the purple here. If you're wondering why this circle, which shows what color I'm using, isn't the same as the color that I'm shading with, it's because the layer is set to multiply. It's a blending mode that's useful for shadows. I'd like to point out this specific area. See how the nose blocks the light and creates a hard shadow, while the curve of the face is creating a soft shadow. So now we're moving on to hair. Same for steps as before. Use an airbrush to add the soft shadows, and then make the brush smaller and then add the hard shadows. This is how I add separate strands. I shade the strand, then use an eraser to chop off a chunk of it to make it look pointy. Use this sparingly though. If you overdo it, it'll look weird and clumpy, like this. And now that your drawing is all rendered, I have one bonus step for you. Color your line art. It makes everything fit together more. But that's a stylistic choice. There's nothing wrong with just using black for your line art.